Hey guys, just sitting here editing the video for the tire install on my 2021 MT-09, and figure I'd give you guys a little disclaimer. Listen, this video is not perfect. I made a lot of mistakes during this video, had to correct them throughout the video. So I just wanted to let you guys know this is what it's like. Sometimes you're working on your bike and things don't go perfectly. So sit back, enjoy the video. Hey guys, Josh here again, back in the garage on a Saturday morning. We're going to be working on the MT-09 today. It's time for new tires, guys. So I ordered myself a set of Michelin Road 6s from Cycle Gear. They came in, so we're going to get these wheels off. We're going to head over to Cycle Gear. We're going to get them put on. Guys, it was time for new tires because I'm almost at about 3,000 miles. And in Florida, we do a lot of straight riding down here, a lot of straight roads, a lot of cruising. And to be honest, the S22s just didn't hold up. They're a soft tire, and they got a big flat spot in the middle. And the last ride I was out on last week, honestly, they were a little squirrely. And I didn't feel real confident. You know, some turns and stuff, they let go a little bit. And wasn't real happy about that. So ordered those Road 6s, and we're going to go get those put on. So let's get the bike up on the stands, and then let's get these wheels off, and then we'll head over to Cycle Gear, have them put the new tires on. We'll come back and have them put back on. Alright guys, so I grabbed the tools I need. I need a 32mm socket for the axle nut. I need a couple of 12mm wrenches to break the adjuster loose here. That you can see here is the adjuster for the chain. And then we're going to take these off. I shouldn't have to. I'm going to see if I can get away without taking the slider off. But if I have to, I'll just grab the 6mm wrench for that and pop that off. But I think that the 32mm socket will fit right beyond that. So you just unloosen that and pop that out. But first things first, we're going to break those. We're going to break the chain adjusters loose and loosen up that chain so that we have room to work. So as you can see here, I just backed the lock nut off a little bit, and then I was able to just turn the adjuster bolt in. Now that gives me some room so that when I once we get the axle out and stuff like that, we'll be able to slide that forward to get the chain off the other side. So I'm just going to repeat this process on the other side. Alright guys, now I got my breaker bar and my 32mm socket here so we can break this axle nut loose. Looks like the last time I put the chain on, guys, I tightened this one good. There it goes. Alright. So now we'll just loosen this up the rest of the way. Alright, now normally, guys, for a chain adjustment, you would just break it loose, but in this case, since we're taking the axle out and taking the wheel off, we gotta take this all the way off. And it's important too, guys, you know, if you're not paying attention to doing what you're doing, especially with rear axles and stuff like that, a lot of times there's spacers, there's other things in there, so, you know, take a picture of what you're taking apart. That way, you know, like you can see, I have the nut, the washer, and then I have the adjustment block with the slider on it, so from TST. So just be careful and you make sure you pay attention to what you're taking off. So when you go to put it back together, you put it back together the right way. Now we're going to get on the other side here a little bit, and we're going to take off the other slider, and we're going to slide that axle out, get a mallet or something to hit it with. And it should come out pretty easily because I've had it out once before. So, but you know, using the rubber mallet so we don't mark anything up. Alright guys, hopefully you can see this. Now we're on the other side here. You can see the axle started to come out. So I'm going to slide this all the way out. When I do this, though, the wheel's going to drop a little bit, which is fine. And I'm going to make sure that I just retain all the parts in the positions they're in. So we're just going to slide the axle out. And you can see that's that wheel drop, guys, I was just talking about. And we're going to look to pay attention that nothing else falls out as we're doing this. And then I'll show you what I do with the parts later. So we just got to pull this chain off a little bit here. And roll it forward. We should be able to get the chain to go to one side. Okay. And then we're going to slide this out, and look, this is what I'm talking about, guys. Look, here's another bearing or a spacer that's going to come popping out. So that's why it's very important to make sure you keep track of all your parts and put them in a specific order. Looks like I got the same thing I noticed. I see I got this collar on the other side also that comes out. So I'm gonna take these two pieces out so they don't fall and get lost anywhere, and we'll head over to the bench in a minute. But you can see here, guys, I just set the brake caliper aside and put it on top of there just so it's not putting any tension on anything. Typically, I might grab a piece of wire or something to put it in there, but it should be all right just sitting there because nobody's going to touch the motorcycle. And then I just have the chain pushed aside for now so it's out of the way. So guys, I know that I'm going to be putting this back together fairly quickly, but you can see what I did here is I started at the nut side, put nut, washer, frame slider. Then I know it goes on the axle. This is that bushing that was inside on that side of the wheel. And then I have the bushing from the chain side and frame slider. And I do this because then I know this is the pattern it has to go back in when I go to put it back on the bike. So, you know, it's just a matter of trying to, whenever you're doing work like this, stay organized, try to keep your parts organized. You know, if you got a small table you need to use, if you got a bench like I have here, lay your parts out nice so you know where they are, you know what order they go back in, and you make your life a lot easier. This piece comes right out with the rubber spacers, so we can just, so hey, my bad guys. In this case on my bike, here's the rubber spacers, here's the sprocket. The whole assembly lifts right off. It doesn't have to be unbolted or anything. It's just sitting in there on those rubber cushions. So take this out, lay it aside, and then we're going to lay the rubber bushings aside the same way so we know how they go back in later. And if I have to, I mean, guys, worst case scenario, I'm going to go back and look at the video to make sure that they go back in the same way. Hopefully, guys, I don't know if I'm going to be able to show it, but hopefully, if not, I have a picture that might show it, but if you guys can see this in the light here, you can see how flat this has gotten. I mean, that's a bad flat spot. And, you know, that's not round anymore. So that's just really not, when you're riding around, that's not real stable. And, guys, I don't do burnouts or anything. This is just straight riding. It's just South Florida is that way where a lot of the roads are straight. So hopefully with the Road 6, because that center compound is harder than the side compound, that harder compound will hold up more, keep more of a round shape to that tire. But this was real squirrely going into some corners and stuff like that on the last ride I was out on. But like I said, you could see how flat that just got real flat real quick. All right, guys, for me, the first thing I got to do on the front here is I got to take out my TST Industry, the WAMAHAMT axle sliders here. So that just requires a couple of 6mm wrenches to take off, because it's a rod that goes right through the whole thing. So I'm just going to grab my T-handle on one side, my ratchet in the other. We're just going to break these loose. Alright guys, we're going to leave that slider on that side for now because I'm pretty sure the axle comes out this way. So if it does, then I should have no reason to try to monkey with that to take that off. So I'm going to loosen this pinch bolt up, grab the hex that fits this side, and see if we can get that to go. So. Alright guys, so it looks like it's a 19mm hex for this side of the axle. And it's 1/2 inch. Let me grab my breaker bar. Alright guys, we're back. Got that other slider out now, so now we're gonna back this axle bolt out now, and hopefully it comes right out. I ended up just holding this end with the socket and turning the other side. So my guess is that in the axle itself is that slider for the rod that holds the sliders together in the middle there is like locked in there or rusted in there or something, because I couldn't get it out to save my life, guys. It was a pain in my ass. So same thing here, guys. As you can see here, I'm gonna grab the camera here. There's a spacer down in here. There's another one on this side in the front wheel. You can see that spacer right in here near the wheel sensor. So we're gonna make sure that we grab those spacers, put them on the axle in the order they're in, so that later when we come back out and when we go put the wheels back on, we'll be in good shape. But hey, sorry about my frustration there, guys, but you know, sometimes you just gotta walk away from it for a minute and start over, and that's what I did here. So let's get this the rest of the way out so we can get heading over to cycle gear. one spacer. Come on now. Well, guys, one mistake I made here is gonna have to loosen up the calipers to get the wheel past it. I forgot about that, so that's my fault. So we're gonna slide this back up there and make sure that happens. Last time I ever took the front wheel off of this bike, made the mistake of not loosening the calipers first and getting them out of the way so that the wheel could slide forward. I did scratch my wheel a little bit by screwing that up, and also I almost dropped the whole bike, guys. So so if you guys are going to do your wheels, make sure that one of the first things you do when you get to the front is take these two caliper bolts, they're 12 mil, and get the calipers out of your way so you don't bang everything up. Or in that case, go see my buddy YAMAHAMT and go see Yachty's video, because he did a much better instructional than I did here on the proper way to do this. He was you know, much smoother than I was today. So and maybe I should have watched his video a couple more times, but you know, and I'll link it down in the description if you want to check out his video on how he did the wheels and tires, because you know, once I got the axle out and started trying to pull that wheel forward, I distinctly remember this step that he did where he pulled the calipers out, and you know, of course now everything is free to move forward. So what I don't know is when I dropped it a little bit and had to get it repositioned on the front stand, I don't know if I did any other damage. So we're going to check that out in a minute once we get the wheel off. But I definitely scratched it a little bit, put a few little marks in the paint on the wheel, which is a little disappointing, but hey, live and learn, right guys? It won't happen again. And of course, with the calipers out of the way, the wheel drops right out instead of struggling like I did earlier in the video, guys. All right, guys, just before we get on the road to cycle gear, I just wanted to show you. You can see here where I nicked the paint here, a little bit here, a little bit in there, and similar on the other side of this wheel. So, you know, hey, you live and learn, right, guys? It was a mistake I made. Hopefully, I didn't damage anything else. And we're gonna get over to cycle gear, get the new tires put on, and we'll get back and get these reinstalled. So, but again, guys, lessons learned, right? That's why we do these videos sometimes too. Is even, you know, I consider myself an okay mechanic, not great, but you know, I made some mistakes today where, you know, I've now damaged my motorcycle and put these nicks in the rim here, so it's not going to look as pretty. But hopefully, if you guys watch this video, you guys won't do the same thing. All right, guys, we're in the Jeep. We're on our way over to cycle gear right now. Going to get these tires changed out and then go back and get them put back on the bike. Want to let you guys know, for anything, everybody that watch, I know it's only a few people, but the people that watch Everything Happens for a Reason video, you guys heard about in that video that I lost my job and I was laid off and things like that due to a merger and stuff that happened with other companies. So good news is, guys, though, starting last Monday, which I think was like the 21st or the 20th or whatever, I was back to work. So I'm back, I'm sorry, the 22nd. So I'm back to work. Got a great job, really like the people I'm working with. First week was wonderful. And so everything's all good on that front, guys. So I'm going to kill the video here. We're going to head over to cycle gear, get these tires changed out. All right, guys, just got back in the Jeep, heading home. Cycle gear, swapped the tires. It took about an hour total, so real quick service from them. And we're going to head home and mount these up. All right, next up, guys, gotta get these calipers back in place. All right, guys, that's the fronts back on, so we're gonna move to the back and get that done. All right, guys, just laying the rubber bushings here, the rubber buffers, I guess they are. I don't know what they're called, guys, but I'm putting the rubber pieces back in. Bushing in there. Center sprocket in here. Just down in there. So now, alright. Alright guys, we got the chain on. Now we got to just lift the tire into place, put the axle in, and then we'll be in good shape here. So. Of course, we're struggling here, guys, because it doesn't want to go in. So, help it a little bit. Hey guys, it's Josh again, just jumping in here for a minute. At this point in the job, I was really frustrated and actually failed to line up the rear caliper correctly. There's a groove on it that lines up with a notch on the swing arm that's meant to keep it in place. So I failed to do that. Luckily though, I did double check everything before I rode the bike and noticed that and corrected it before I went out for a ride. I did get about a 30-mile ride round trip back and forth to work. Bike ran great, tires were great. But I just want to let you guys know you're going to see the caliper in the wrong position during the next portion of the video. Alright guys, so I got the axle nut on the other side, just finger tight, just to hold it in place, because now we got to adjust this chain. As you can see now, there's way too much slop in it. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to give it a yank first, just to pull it back tight, and then we're going to back this bolt out, because then it sits against this axle block. Once we get this side adjusted, we'll measure, though there's tick marks here, but we'll measure too, just to make sure we're pretty close. And then on the other side, we'll even it out so we're going straight down the road. So we're going to work on that right now, and then we'll get to it. And you can see, guys, if you look close, as I back this bolt out, you can see that chain get tighter. So I'm just going like this. Like, that looks pretty good to me. Maybe just a quarter turn more, but I really do my chain just by feel. You know what I mean? To make sure that we're not too tight here and nothing's binding. But that looks pretty good. Maybe just a sketch more. Yeah, that's pretty good. I don't actually go through and measure everything. You know, I've been riding bikes a long time. I know about where tight is. So then what you're going to do, guys, is you're going to hold the bolt with one wrench, and then you're going to tighten that lock nut with another one, and then that's what actually locks it in place. So now this doesn't move, and that holds your tension on your chain there for you. So, you know, that's good and tight there, or well, where it should be, good and adjusted. And then I'm going to go on the other side. So guys, like I said, we're on the other side now. I'm going to back this out now, and then I'm going to measure it and see how close we are to being at that 24mm mark, you know, from the front here. So I'm just looking here to see, and it looks like we're pretty close actually. I have to move you guys just a little bit this way to see if we're getting that same 24mm. Oh, we might be a little farther than we should be there, so let's back that in a little bit. And we'll measure again. Some guys, you know, you can use a caliper here too and put it between there to make sure it's right, but I usually am pretty good with just using a ruler. It looks like it's it right there, guys. And then just locking these in place. So, like I said, you hold one and then just turn that nut to cinch it down in place there. And then what you do, guys, is just give your wheel a hit here to make sure that the axle blocks are sitting right on the nut, and then we can go ahead and tighten this bolt up, or tighten the axle nut up. So we'll get our big 32mm out, and we will now crank on this and get this getting tight here. So all right, guys, that was a little bit of an adventure. I'm dripping in sweat. It's hot here in South Florida today. Made some mistakes by not taking the calipers off first in the front and making sure that was right, making sure it was on the stands right. So, you know, watch my video, laugh at me, learn what I did wrong, call me an idiot. But everything is done now. And I have to say, guys, these Road 6s, they look pretty good. I mean, that is a good looking tire. You can see right here, I hope in the video, there's a line here. That's the difference between the two compounds. So I'm hoping as I'm taking these down the road that we're going to be, you know, we're going to have some nice wear on those, and that they'll last a lot longer than those S22s. All right, guys, so that was my adventure with my tire install. Like I said, not perfect. Definitely made some errors in this installation, but it shows you guys what happens sometimes in real life when things just don't go as planned or you make simple errors. You know, until the next one, guys, stay safe.